Welcome everyone. Today, as I promised in my Telegram channel, we are going to record video about GitHub authorization. To be more precise, we are going to create OAuth client using single page application with React. And we are going to connect this client to GitHub authorization, since GitHub is using OpenID Connect, and for sure, of course, consequently it uses OAuth 2.0 under the hood, because OpenID Connect is built on top of it. So we are going to connect to it, get the token, and get all the repos of the user that has that token. We are going to build on top of my previous React client, where we connected to our own implementation of authorization server and resource server using OpenID Dict and .NET. So in previous articles, we created resource server and authorization server. In this article, we have created a React client to connect to these two guys. You can check it out if you are interested. And the client that we have created in this article is pretty flexible. So you can use it in any other OpenID Connect and OAuth providers, which is, as an example, GitHub. GitHub is also OpenID Connect provider, so-called. Also, there are many of them, Microsoft, Google. So we are going to build on top of this React client and to patch it to the version that it is compatible and works with GitHub. I thought it would be pretty easy, but unfortunately GitHub is not that compliant with official OpenID Connect specification, so we will see it during the video. You can go to my GitHub and fork the repo and start using GitHub SPA client straight away. It has name oauth.github.web client, but we are going to do it from the scratch, and I'm gonna discover all the pitfalls I have met and why the GitHub is not actually compliant OAuth and not OAuth, but mainly OpenID Connect provider. So let's start. First of all, we are going to fork the repo. I already done it, so I have it here. Maybe I need to pull. Okay, we are going to copy my main and core folder with the basic implementation of OAuth client using React. It takes some time because of not modules. Okay, it's done. Let's name it GitHub client. Good. Now we are going to open Visual Studio Code, of course. Pretty much the best for the React application, in my opinion. So let's open it, open the integrated terminal, and we are going to patch it to make it work with GitHub, because for now, if you take a look, for example, to config, it connects to our OpenID Dict server, which does not actually exist. So this authority does not exist now. We have nothing in this local host right now. Yeah, it's just not responding, of course. So actually we can, and we will just follow my article about it, because I already published all the necessary steps to make it work with GitHub. So first, we should create GitHub OAuth application with which we are going to obtain access token for user, for resource owner. Yes, so let's go to this section straight away, and we can just follow these things and do all that we need. So I will do it. Settings, of course, developer settings, OAuth apps, new OAuth app, video, send, drop, homepage. You can put whatever you want, it will not be verifying. And then authorization callback URL. This is your redirect URL in terms of OAuth specification. So what you're going to put your redirect URL of your React application, which actually is this one. A device flow we don't need. Register application, good. We have our application registered. It is that easy. And this is our client ID. We don't have client secrets yet, so we generate one. By the time you are watching this video, I already dropped this GitHub OAuth client, so no worry, those credentials are not valid anymore. But we are putting them here. Good. Yes, this is what actually is needed. And go up. And now we are going to patch our config settings a bit. So what we are going to do, we are going to put these things, client ID here, client secret here, and this one we are going to just drop. Nice. Now let me explain what is going on in this configuration. So as an authority, we are using GitHub.com because this is the entity that issues access tokens, refresh tokens, and verifies everything related to OAuth protocol. We have our redirect URL to React application. Silent redirect URI is used for refresh tokens. Post logout redirect URI is the URL where you will be redirected after you logged out. Unfortunately, this is actually not needed in our case because GitHub is not compliant. I will explain you later. Response type, we are using authorization code flow because GitHub didn't implement anything else. So only device flow for CLI tools and web application flow. This is standard authorization code flow. That's it. Implicit grant type is not supported. But that's okay. Authorization code is pretty secure. The pretty bad thing that they have a proof key for code exchange is not supported at the time, or maybe only some parameters are not supported. I'm not sure, I need to double check, but we will implement authorization code for simplicity. Next thing, you might notice that in previous example we didn't have this metadata, and this is when actually first problem with GitHub started, because as a pretty regular OpenID Connect implementations and providers, which GitHub should be, they should have OpenID Connect discovery endpoint. It actually listed in the official documentation of OpenID Connect protocol, of course, and it should be by default, its default location should be this one, and actually all dynamic OpenID providers should and must support discovery endpoint. Since GitHub is dynamic OpenID provider, because it didn't know anything about my OAuth application until I have just registered it during this video. So it means it's dynamic, but it does not have any discovery endpoints. At least I didn't find anything on the internet, Google or whatever I find and tried, it was 404. Comparing to compliant implementations of OpenID Connect, you can take a look at Google, and if we just put here HTTPS yes, Google does support this configuration, but let's see. It's okay. Because of this reason, the OpenID OEDC client TS, I suppose this is the name of the library, yeah, this one library, it cannot by default find the discovery endpoint. It fails while we're starting our OAuth process. So they have some workaround. You can put the metadata to configuration to overcome this problem. If the provider does not have discovery endpoint, you can put all necessary information that is needed from this discovery endpoint by yourself. That's what we did. So the authorization endpoint for GitHub is this one, and token endpoint which we are going to use is this strange thing. And when we came to this configuration, we are talking now about another problem with GitHub. It does not support proper course configurations, so all the single page applications that are run in browser will not be able to obtain access token when exchanging authorization code for this access token, because it will be blocked by course policy. I mean this cross-origin resource sharing policy, because GitHub just does not support it. I also explored it in my article. Yeah, if you try to do it, you can see that it will just fail to fetch, and you will see course error. And as a workaround that officially was proposed, like there is issue, well-known issue in GitHub. As a workaround, we can use some server-side solution. So we are just creating server that will send this request to exchange authorization code and get the access token, because server does not respect any course and cross-origin policies. It just needs it in browser. So in my case, I would not recommend you to use something public, because you will expose your client secret and client ID, which I would not recommend. So you can host it by yourself using the Docker. So let me check whether my Docker is run. We will get it up. Yeah, Docker is run. So what you need to do is just copy paste this line, and here you are. It will download everything and set up your proxy for you. So yeah, it is working good, and the port is 9999. That's why we have here also this 99999. In production environment, you can just set up it and configure your Nginx to be able to go to this one. And this course proxy, it will send whatever we send to this endpoint. It will send the same thing to the URL we pasted on the right side, so basically to this access token. That's how we will get the access token. And the scope we need is repo scope. In order to show you that this token actually works, I will grab all my projects, also, sorry, not projects, repositories, also including private one, for example, LeetCode QS and other private things. So that's about configuration. Next thing, we go to AuthService and change our code a bit, because we are using GitHub configuration right now. This one. And we are changing the way how we initialize in user manager by using this config, exactly. All other code remains the same. Now let's add one more method to our API. You can actually just drop our resource server call, previous one, and we will just call API GitHub to get the repositories. We are changing unauthenticated page to show the user that we are going to log in with GitHub. App.js, now our App.js is showing us the result, the token, and what is going on in our application, so we are going to use it. We are getting GitHub resources, and we will show, of course, them when we set this data. Good. Now AuthService, another update on AuthService is the logout function, and this is because we have another problem, another incompliance and inconsistency with OpenID Connect protocol. And the problem here is actually GitHub does not have end session endpoint, this one, which is required to log out the user from authorization server, properly log out the user. And it also is in compliance, because if we go to the documentation, like you can find that it is required, so that, yeah, it should be, it is required. So I'm sorry, it should be on discovery metadata, and it should be implemented in case of the dynamic OpenID Connect providers. And GitHub is dynamic OpenID Connect provider. But anyway, since we don't have this session, we cannot make OEDC client TC, the library that is doing the OAuth implementation that we are using. it cannot go and do this request, sign out redirect, which will trigger log out process on the authorization server, because this endpoint just does not exist. So what should we do in this case? We are going to put try catch to not break any other implementations, because for example, in our custom OpenID dict authorization server, we do have this endpoint and we can easily sign out the user. So in this case, if we cannot do it, we anyway cleared all the state inside the session storage in the browser, so the user will be logged out from on the browser, but still it will be logged in on GitHub authorization server. So GitHub will not prompt you once more because you have logged out. No, but at least in the browser you will not be able to get, and you should do the process again. In this case, we just silently log in the error and redirect into the main page, and without the state and without the session, it will show that we actually not authenticated. So that's about our service. We obtained this scene. Now let me do this. Let's install all the modules and packages that we need. Our Docker course anywhere is up. Good, it is listening. And now let's just try. Okay. It was loaded. Good, we got the bundle. Nice. Now let's try to log in. Yes, as you can see, we are getting the regular consent screen, which is explaining the OAuth implementation, and we consenting. Nice. And now we got access token. With the scope repo, profile is 0 because we didn't call user info. It is not OpenID Connect client, it is only OAuth client. And yes, and with this access token, we went to the GitHub and got the repo. And that's what we did. We just showed all the repositories that I have. And actually, those repositories, they contain my private repositories, which actually confirms that token works. And it can, and actually we called the resource server, and the resource server respected this token and provided additional repositories. Also private one that a regular user does not have access to. You can just check it by yourself. You will not find these repositories. So that's it. Now as an end session, I would like to show you that actually without my workaround it will not work. So let me omit this part, right? I will not save it yet, so you can check how logout will work. Yeah, but now it's silently redirected to the main page with cleared session storage. And now when we try to log in, it will not prompt us again to do anything, because on the GitHub authorization server it is still logged in. Okay, now let me try to as I told, remove course anywhere, and let's see what will happen with network tab. So we are logging in. Yes, exactly, and it failed to fetch. So on access token we have a problem with course. It is okay, we are doing good, we are exchanging the proper code and stuff like that, but if we go to console, we might see that course policy is violated because GitHub does not provide any necessary course relaxed headers that we can use, and it failed, of course. Also, what will happen if we just drop the metadata from our configuration, and let's try to do authorization again. It will fail on the first call because well-known OpenID configuration, the default route for discovery endpoint, returned 404 not found status. Very bad, GitHub, very bad. And also the third problem that we had is what about end session endpoint, which actually GitHub does not have. We can provide it actually here, end session endpoint, If it would exist, we would point it here and it will work properly, but since I don't know actual end session endpoint for Google Authorization Server, I don't know what to point here. And if we, let's say, remove this try catch, it will fail as well. So let's try. Good. Bam. Yes, it authorized, but when I try to press logout, yes, of course, no end session endpoint. ODC client, it failed on the browser side even, because the user manager, this ODC client TS library, it cannot find end session endpoint because it discovery endpoint on GitHub site does not exist, and we didn't point it in metadata. So that's it, guys. And with proper implementation of this thing, we actually made it work. You can use this implementation to implement your GitHub scene. You can call with this token any GitHub API. It will work as I showed you. So it can get all the repos, including private one, with this token. If you need the exact repo, you can check my GitHub. It is already there. If you need to follow it by yourself, please check my article. Also check all my social media, Telegram, Instagram. I'm posting some information, polls there, what I'm going to do the next. This was my promise to record this video. So I think that's it. Thank you for your attention. See you guys.